I first heard about Last Night in Soho in February, and I did about 2 months of auditioning. So the first two auditions were kind of like dry read type auditions, and then my third recall was a chemistry test with our lead protagonist. And after that, I heard I got the role, and then I met with Edgar Wright, and he kind of gave me more of a consensus and more of a feel of the script. And he showed me a lot of like mood boards and references and just the history of where the idea kind of stems from. Getting to know him more has been like phenomenal. And then when he started to just show me more about his film knowledge and more about his visions for Last Night in Soho, I was just fascinated about how much films Edgar knows. And yeah, that was exciting. And it's always felt like I'm learning from someone who has had so much years of experience. And I think for me, that was like the biggest incentive to wanting to do Last Night in Soho. I play John Drama, and I believe he is a very gentle spirit, genuine at heart, and it's just a like easygoing guy who wants to make sure that everyone's okay. And I feel like clarity is one of his biggest things, as you will find when you watch John back. John and Ellie are fashion students at London College of Fashion, and even before filming, I remember going to London College of Fashion, and it's like huge school with a lot of introverted type people who you could tell were under immense amounts of pressure, doing their final projects for like their final shows where they would show different looks, like 10 different looks. And in that school, it's quite competitive. You could see people breaking down. You know, there was even talks of, I think one of the tutors was saying that in group leading, they have a group leading assignment where 10 students come together and they have to agree on something, and students can actually fire other students. It was crazy. So that was the world that we were going into, and Edgar was great in making sure that we had that context beforehand. The reason why John is so drawn to Ellie is because I feel like they're both outcasts. You know, they're like John, for example, comes from South London and he's into fashion. I mean, that might be frowned upon amongst his friends, to be into something which is so unconventional. It's not like football, it's not like music, it's not like, being the center of attention. It's, using your hands. And John actually comes from a tailor's background. So his aunties, dad would have tailored more traditional African clothes. And in terms of Eloise, she is also similar to John because she comes from Cornwall, but they're both come from that natural tailored background where she's been sewing clothes for God knows how long, and when she first comes into the school, she's even wearing something that she's made herself. And that to other students is a little bit intimidating. She's just so focused, you feel it. When those cameras are ready, she's just, she's in it. She has the emotion. And, I've seen some of like the notes that Edgar gives her to just do something so small, to change how a scene ends, or she says a certain line, and she just takes it on board. And then we watch playback and I'm just like, you're brilliant. And she's so young as well, to have so much amounts of pressure on her shoulders and what she's doing with it. I think she's going to be very proud when she watches herself back. The life in the 60s has been like phenomenal to look at, because I remember I drove past a particular scene where it was Matt Smith and Anya, who were having this scene outside the cinema in Haymarket, which is in central London, and how they just turned the whole street upside down with the cars that were involved. People were in like tailored suits. the Empire Cinema had just been changed, and they had the really like old poster of this, like I think it was like a I can't remember who it was, but it was like a 007 movie, like an action movie that was being shown. And that to me was so magical because I was like, I've never seen anything like this. And, you know, for like millennials like me, you know, it's like a bit of a eye opener to go, you know, there were people that lived here before us who, you know, were doing exactly the same things, but just in a different style. Soho, for me, has always been nightlife. It's been mystery, endless opportunities, you know? Like things you don't never gonna know who's gonna come out, you know? You never know what's coming around the corner. And I feel like that's what makes it such a perfect atmosphere for last night in Soho. Working with Edgar's been so great because he's so free, man. Like free for other actors to come in and add their own flavors and break the mold that he's created or the formula that he's created. And it's like I don't remember a moment, not one moment being on set doing a scene where it hasn't evolved or it hasn't changed slightly, you know. And he's been so like open to always asking for a different option. Just show me a different option. Let's have a different option. And for an actor, it's so comforting to know that someone wants to see you express yourself because we know being in TV and stuff, other directors might like, oh, let's play it safe. Let's do something a little bit more subtle and stuff. But he's like, no, let's show me, express. The lighting on this is phenomenal, you know, and how they've kind of used light to almost disorientate our visual eye, you know, and how that can make you go, oh, what was that? Did that just happen? Did it not happen? You know, and for an audience member, I think it's going to be hard to decide where the story is going because just when you think you've got it, Edgar smashes it and it's like, ah, that's not it, you know? So yeah, that's exciting and I can't wait to see an audience reaction to this movie. Down in Clapham when we had to do a huge like Halloween party. And I was just so impressed with like the detail behind the costume, you know, and some of those Halloween costumes. I mean, people had like swords in their heads and brains coming out their mouth and all of these bizarre things happening. And for me, it was like one of the first scenes myself and Thomasin rehearsed actually. And there was like this huge sequence where, you know, you see all of like the costumes and me and Eloise coming down and like you see everything, you see the life of it. And then you get the elements that Chung like has with the lighting and how things just turn on its head. And you know, that for me was like one of the most fascinating things because it was a real ensemble effort.